How did you find the room in Miss Rayford's home?
It was on a roommate app, like Roomster, to be exact.
On what date did you find the ad?
June 15th.
And where was it located?
Atlanta, Georgia, 30311.
So that was in June. And you looked at the room?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the rent?
It was negotiated to be $750.
$750 a month?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work were you doing then?
I was working fast food at the moment.
When did you move in?
July 15th.
July 15th?
15th, yes, ma'am.
And how much rent did you pay for the month of July?
This full amount, $750. I paid $250 to hold the room and $509 for the remaining balance.
In the month of August, tell me what rent you paid her and when.
I did give her a...
Look at me. Be very careful with me. I want you to be very careful with me. How much rent did you give her in the month of August?
I didn't give her anything.
How much rent did you give her in September?
She wasn't there.
How much rent did you pay anyone in September?
I paid her a portion of the rent.
What do you mean a portion of the rent? It was my understanding that you owned this home.
Yes,
No,
Your
she
Honor,
didn't
that
own
is
the
correct.
Just a second.
She didn't own the home. To my knowledge, she wasn't even supposed to be renting out the home to have rooms.
Just a second. I'm just asking you, you're now living in somebody's house.
Mm-hmm.
And you agreed to pay $750 a month rent.
Mm-hmm.
Is a yes.
Yes.
And you paid no rent
Well, that
for
was
the month of August.
That was because when I did come into the home on the 31st, I moved in on the 15th like I communicated to you. On the 30th, my belongings was outside the home. I had to sleep outside like an animal.
Okay. What about in September? You were still in the home in September.
Yeah, I was still in the home in September
She
going
was
through
still
the same
in?
issue.
Just a second. You were still... You're not going to talk over me. You were still in the home in September.
Mm-hmm.
Not That's a yes.
Yes.
You were still in the home in September. And how much rent did you pay in September?
I paid her $500 in
Just a second. In September, you paid her $500?
Yes.
Okay. October.
Nothing was paid.
After that, you paid no rent?
No.
Okay. Where are you living now?
I live with a friend now.
That's a lie. That's a lie. We just checked.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I used
Well, just
to
a second.
before I moved.
Just a second. Stupid is not here, sir.
Pretty aware.
Stupid is not here. So now you're a squatter in a place where you're paying no rent and you live with him?
No, ma'am, I have my own place.
Oh, good. Because he doesn't live with you. He's living in a place where he doesn't pay rent. He moved in and stopped paying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not finished with you either. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand what you're saying.
Very good. So
But
if you understand, you weren't living outside like an animal, and you've been living for August, September, October, November, December, January and February, 7 months in a place in which you pay no rent.
Well, can I ask a question? How am I supposed to pay rent when I had several eviction notices and she wasn't there to show up?
Then leave. Then leave.
I mean,
you're a
you saying
squatter.
leave, but
You are a squatter.
she told me I didn't
You're a
have to.
squatter. Well, if she told you that you don't have to, then the two of you are in collusion here.
I'm not talking about
Yeah.
that, ma'am.
Who told you you didn't have to pay?
The judge, because I didn't say the judge didn't say I had to pay. The judge said I did not have to leave, that she didn't find a reason to eviction of me because she didn't show up and provide her evidence.
I'm just telling you, you're a squatter. You don't pay rent. Everybody else here pays a mortgage, pays a maintenance. You moved in and you became a squatter. And I don't care what some other nitwit said to you, you're a squatter. So you get zero for the rent, for your property. I'll get to the assault in a minute. I read your answer. When did you purchase the house?
June 3rd,
June of what?
2021.
What was your mortgage?
The first year, from June, when I moved in 2021, it was $1,575 a month.
For the mortgage?
Correct. June of 2022, it increased by $40 and went to $1,615.
In what month did you stop paying the mortgage?
September of 2023.
Why?
There's nothing worse than having somebody who quite literally is not going to be the best roommate or landlord or housemate or tenant. But in this case, I find one of the worst of those things is if you don't pay your rent, which would qualify you as being a squatter. Now, this guy's going to argue for some reason that he's not a squatter. I don't know why he maybe thinks that squatters look a certain way, but what's really strange is both of these people, for some reason, have not paid their mortgage or rent. So I don't know why they're upset with each other. Now, we're going to get to this assault as well, and I can't wait to hear what the details are, but I'm going to think that Judge Judy's going to go in hard on this one. What do you guys think?
Now, in what month did you stop paying the mortgage?
Well, to be completely honest with you,
Yeah, I don't want you to be dishonest with me. You have to be honest with me because I know everything.
Yes, ma'am. I got laid off. I was okay, just living off of savings for a few months. Things got hard.
Just a second, you got laid off from what job, where?
Carvana, and this was November of 2022.
All right, so you've already been laid off for a year, and you're telling me you paid your mortgage until September.
Yes, ma'am. I was doing anything I could from an app called InstaWork.
Okay, so then you stopped paying your mortgage in September.
Yes.
And when did they foreclose on your house?
October 23rd was the date that I was told that myself and DeAndre needed to be out of
And I just asked you a question. They foreclosed on the house in October.
Yes.
Where did you go?
I had to move back with my mother in the state of Missouri. I lost everything. My job, the home, my dog.
Okay, so now the bank owns the house.
Yes, correct.
And he's been squatting
still
in the
there.
house since October.
Yes, he will not leave.
Get out of here. Now, I've listened to what you just said just about the ownership of the house and when she turned it back to the bank. You said in your brief questioning before that she didn't own the house. She was a renter.
You know, I wasn't supposed to be there in the first place, and she knew that. I wasn't even aware of that.
That's not
Oh, just a second. If she owns the house, you can be there.
She doesn't own the house.
She doesn't own it anymore.
She never did.
Well, show me proof of that. Okay, that I'd like to see. Were you renting with an option to buy?
Yes, ma'am, with the option.
Oh, I got it now. He's absolutely right. You were not the owner of the house. You were a renter, and you had an option to buy.
Correct, and I was gonna do so.
Judge, I shoulda, woulda, coulda. You two people actually deserve each other. Because what you suggest in your papers is that you ran into hard times and you let the bank take the house. Well, you didn't let the bank do anything because you didn't own the house. You were a renter and you stopped paying rent. Isn't that right?
That is correct.
Right. So, as far as I'm concerned, you both deserve each other. I don't know who you're not paying rent to. Somebody owns this house. And they've been probably trying to get you out of the house for a very, very long time.
The person that owned the home came to the home and said she was already far behind before I even moved in. That's the whole reason why I
Who
can't.
cares? What are you doing in a place where you're not paying rent? You're not supposed to be there. You're a squatter.
Do I look like a squatter?
You are one. You live in a place that's not yours. You're not paying rent. You're a squatter.
Yeah, for people that don't try to pay rent. At least I was trying to pay the rent. Every
Listen,
other time I'm
I
trying to...
try to make a baby every once in a while, but I'm 81 years old. It doesn't happen. All right, I want to hear something about this assault that happened when you were both living in this place that belonged to somebody else, and neither one of you was paying rent.
She was paying.
Who are you?
I'm her witness.
Were you there when this assault
Yes,
took place?
I was.
Okay, then I'll hear you after I hear them. Now, what is the date of this alleged
October
assault?
10th.
October 10th.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were still living there, not paying rent as of September and October. She was still living there.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what happened.
So I came outside, out of my room. She was already being aggressive about the non-paying rent. And I've already been trying to be communicative with her.
Not
I
true.
said, hey,
I don't want to hear you.
I'm not speaking, Your Honor.
Who is?
Me, I'm sorry.
Out.
Okay.
Then you're done. That way. Out.
Lord.
Go ahead.
basically,
Now, I don't want to hear basically. I want to hear to the best of your recollection on October 10th, 2023. You were both in the house. You were in your room.
she got crazy. Basically, long story short, she got crazy. I tried to come inside the house and sit in a chair. The lady pulled the chair from me. I have the pictures and everything of it. Pulled the chair from me. punched
Which
me.
lady?
This one right here.
Pulled the chair out from under you, tried to sit down.
Yes, ma'am.
And?
Pulled the chair out from me, punched me in the face, and I fell in the chair into the glass. She started picking up the glass and stabbing me with it.
And?
And I had to call the ambulance. The police came. Took
May
45 minutes.
May I see the police report, please? Did you ever speak to the police, Miss Rayford?
That day?
That day?
No, ma'am. I ended up leaving because...
Okay, just a second. Don't tell me because. The police have memorialized what they saw on the 10th, and they saw him with multiple wounds on his body. Some were bandaged and some not. You were not in the house. This person, I assume, is your girlfriend.
Correct.
Okay. So the two of you were in the house. After this incident took place, whatever the incident was, the two of you left.
That's correct.
He called the police.
I'm not sure what he
Well,
did.
you didn't call the police.
No, I did not.
No. Now, so from you, I would like to see... When you left the house, ran out of the house with your girlfriend, I assume you went right to an emergency room or something as a result of the lacerations that you say you sustained as a result of this fight. So I'd like to see those records.
I did not go to seek emergency treatment because I didn't have any insurance. I just bandaged it up myself.
Well, where did you run to?
To go and get bandaged.
And when did you come back to the house?
I did not. That was my last day.
So that was your last day. Okay.
That's a lie.
So now...
She did.
I
come
would
back
only
to the
return
house.
when he was not there to collect my things.
Oh, so you did...
leave.
Just a second. So you did go back. I'm feeling I was right.
He would not be there when I would return. I have text messages of me asking my neighbor to let me know when he's not there as well. I have photos.
I'm going to look at both your photos, and then you're going to tell me your version of what happened.
Yes.
Because there's no question that he was injured, because the police memorialized that. I assume he has photographs as well. Now, I want you to tell me your version of what happened.
I was working from home. He was already up that morning, and he was the one being loud. He was sitting at my workstation, and I kept asking him politely to move so that I could go ahead and start working. He refused to move. He told me he had a right to sit wherever he wanted to in the home. Now, mind you, he's never...
Just a second. Did you pull the chair out from under him?
So these two are pretty much two peas in the pod. If you ask me, they're doing the exact same things, and quite frankly, I don't know who to blame in this situation. Now, if someone is squatting and they're not paying you rent, and then you're having to pay the rent, and then you're getting kicked out because you can no longer pay the rent, and you get out, but then this guy still stays there and is not paying rent, something about this tells me that maybe a little bit of a physical altercation makes sense. Now, do I ever advocate for those types of violence? No. But in this situation, for some reason, these two got in a squabble. And I feel like there's more to the story and somebody's not being honest. Somebody's lying here. So who do we think is lying and whose side are we on? Because so far, I don't know if I'm on anyone's side. I think I'm leaning more towards this lady's side because she seems to be somebody who perhaps maybe had a little bit more of a basis going on, but there's more to the story that we haven't heard yet. And I feel like Judge Judy's getting to the bottom of it. But what do you guys think?
Did you pull the chair out from under him?
No, he was not sitting at it at that time. I was trying to move myself. He had walked outside the front door. And as he did that, I was trying to grab the chair, and he ran towards it and sat in it. And that's when the chair actually collided with the mirror, and the mirror broke at that point.
And then?
And then he proceeded to pick up pieces of glass, and I have the photos of my injury right here.
That's a lie.
I don't want to hear you.
He also damaged my work equipment. I had just started that job July 17th. Lost my job on Friday, October 13th, because he damaged my computer. I have a police report that I filed because...
I'd like to see it.
When I did return to the home, after, stitching myself up...
You didn't stitch yourself up.
I did go and get bandages.
You didn't stitch yourself up.
Well, okay. The wrong verbiage.
Yeah.
This is what I submitted
Just
online.
a second. I asked you for your police report.
Yes.
Period.
Okay.
Show it to me.
It's right here. This is what I have filed online. After communicating with my job, they told me in order for them to...
This is on the 12th. You say this happened on the 9th.
It did happen on the 9th, Your Honor. And what I did was I was in communication with my employer to see what they felt was best because...
What does she do for a living?
She was a shift manager.
She still work?
Yes, she works...
Well, why wasn't she paying rent?
We don't live together. She had her own place.
Interesting. Okay, you wanted to say something to me?
Yes, that's actually a lie. As far as me assaulting her, I never once touched this lady. I never once disrespected her. I never once raised a hand at her or tried to, like, physically harm her. She was very aggressive, very disrespectful.
That's not true.
Okay, can I see your photographs, please? Can I see her photographs, please?
Marvius was also injured. That's my arm and her toe.
These are the injuries that you're showing
The
me?
toe photo is Marvius, my partner, and the arm, that's me.
Don't buy the photos,
I
madam.
have the scar right here.
Yeah, and
So-
don't buy that photo. This photo is a result of this date.
No, it all happened the same day that we're referring to.
Why are you showing me a picture of her toe?
Because when the glass broke and it was flying, somehow her toe got cut.
That's not true.
That is what
man.
happened.
Just a second. What other evidence do you have to show me with regard to this injury that took place on that date?
That was mainly what I took. The police told me to take pictures of it because they already had her on file from a previous incident of putting her hands on me.
If she put her hands on you before, why didn't
It's
you
not
move?
making any
Shh,
sense.
shh. There's an indication here that
Yeah,
there was a... Listen
it's
to me.
true, but
If
it's
she
like,
put her...
that's the only place that I could afford at the moment.
But you weren't paying anything. You weren't working. You weren't
was-
doing nothing.
I'm done. You're finished. You have a counterclaim, your counterclaim's dismissed. You, sir, you had a big fight with her because you moved in and you weren't paying rent. You hadn't paid rent since July. So if she's annoyed with you, there's absolutely no basis for her to put her hands on anybody. But you got into a scuffle that day. Did you damage her computer?
No, sir, I didn't.
I believe that you didn't damage her computer.
I did.
Shh, listen to me. I believe that the computer may have gotten damaged during the course of this fight where you and your girlfriend were there, right? Just a second. You and your girlfriend were there. See, I have a big problem with you because I know that he's a squatter, but you led me to believe that you had to give this house back to the bank as a result of his not paying rent. That's what you led me to believe in your answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, and that was not true. When somebody tells me something that's not true, I find their testimony always a little suspect. Do you understand? He was injured. There's no question he was injured with shards of glass. Police saw the injury, and he has pictures bleeding on that date. That's a result of what happened that you did to him. And you may have been angry. Was your friend angry as well? Because you both ran off.
This is what happened, okay?
Sure, I'd like to hear you try to tell me what happened.
The laptop was not damaged due to the scuffle. He was already banging on it, and then he poured Pepsi on it. I had to
Did he pour
contact
Pepsi on the computer before or after you stabbed him with the glass?
No, this is before.
I don't believe a word of that.
Ma'am, this is the
Yeah,
truth. And I literally
no.
walked outside
Can I
so
say
that I could
something?
get some help.
Yeah.
I had
I
to
don't know
call
if you
my
have-
girlfriend, and at that
No,
time,
you
she
don't
was
call your
not there.
girlfriend, you call the police.
Every
don't
time
know.
that the police
Just
have
a
been
second.
called, they have not helped me.
Excuse me. No.
Squatters
Your
have more
girlfriend's
rights
not
than
going to
I
help
do.
you. You're trying to
Excuse-
talk over
I
me. Your
needed someone
girlfriend's not
there
going to help
with
you.
me. I had no family
So
in
when you
Atlanta.
on the day of the incident, the police were wondering, like, where was she so they can get...
Don't tell me what the police were wondering, sir. You haven't paid rent in a place for 7 months. Are you still working fast food?
Yeah, I'm working now.
Did you tell me initially when I asked you a question, and we can have Whitney read it back, when I asked you where you were living, you said you were living with a friend.
Yeah, because I
Just
recently...
a second. You were living with a friend, but that's not true because when we tried to contact you, the contract address that you gave us was, that's how I knew you lived there and that you weren't telling me the truth. Do you understand?
Yeah, I said I
Do you-
recently moved
no,
from the...
no, you didn't say
I
that.
recently have moved from that location, from that home.
Goodbye. Your case is dismissed. So's yours. Goodbye. You deserve each other.
This court is adjourned.
I wasn't squatting.
He only paid to move in, and I didn't get anything after that month of July
Well, how am I supposed to pay rent if I was told I could be there?
because that's what Gen Z babies do.
So this was definitely a very interesting case because both cases got dismissed And I do agree with Judge Judy on this because both of them seem to be doing things that were just too shady. They weren't being honest with her. They were being caught in their lies. And of course, Judge Judy is like, why would I help you? Why would I give you any sort of case here if you're just going to lie to me and not tell me the truth? You can't accurately make a judgment if you don't have the honest truth. So this should be a lesson. When you're in a case, you should 100% always tell the truth. Now, in this case, it has a lot to do with squatting. And I wonder what makes squatting so prevalent in this world, because if you think about it, squatters for some reason have way more rights than the landlord or even roommates do. And that doesn't make any sense, because if I were to go to a hotel room or if I was to use some sort of service and not pay for it, even though I claimed I was going to, you better bet that I'm going to be considered stealing at that point. So how is being a squatter not considered stealing someone's home and someone's space? And in some cases, somebody uses that space as their business and they rent out those rooms as their income. That's like a loss of wages right there. So how is it that squatters have so many more rights? I think that squatters need to have their rights dialed down a little bit, because that doesn't seem right. It's not fair. It's not correct. It's not great behavior, and it's stealing if you ask me. But I want to know what you guys think, because I think some people might have some differing opinions on this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Let me know in the comments down below.